Welcome to Story Never End, the show where we crack open the classics and find out they were quietly writing about us. Today's book is 140 years old, and it's secretly about something you do every single day. You keep a polished public account, the respectable you, the one everyone likes, and then you quietly run another one. And that's where the real you lives, the unfiltered, the indulgent, the part you'd never show anyone.
Okay, that opening just pinned me to my chair.
And here's the creepiest part. This book tells you that second self, the one you keep feeding, eventually it eats you until you can't tell anymore which one is the real account and which one is the alt.
Hold on, let me lay out the 2026 version first. So many of us run a Finsta now, right? The main account is the highlight reel, the wins, the trips, the curated chill. And then the alt, the burner, the close friends only account, that's where you post the stuff the main would never touch. The bitter takes, the cravings, the 3 a.m. spiral. There's this whole wave of even celebrities and brands running Finstas because the main feels like a performance and only the alt feels like the actual you.
So the alt is an escape valve.
At first, yeah, a release. Hold on to that because this book is about to show you how that escape valve turns into a hole you can't climb out of.
So let's start from the top. The book is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, published in 1886. Now, you think you already know the plot. Good man drinks a potion, turns into a bad man, right? But here's what most people don't know. The original is a detective mystery. For 2/3 of the book, the reader has no idea Jekyll and Hyde are the same person.
Wait, so it's a whodunit?
It's Stevenson's masterstroke. The whole thing is told through the eyes of a lawyer, slowly unraveling a puzzle. It opens with this lawyer, Utterson, walking through London with his cousin, and they pass a strange, run-down door on a back street.
A door?
A door with no bell, no knocker, the wall blistered and neglected for a generation. And the cousin tells a story. One black winter morning, around 3 a.m., he saw a small man and a little girl of maybe 8 or 10 collide at a corner. Now, a normal person bumps a kid, they help her up, they apologize. This man?
What did he do?
He, quote, trampled calmly over the child's body and left her screaming on the ground.
Trampled calmly over the child's body and left her screaming. That word, calmly, that's the chill. Not a panic, not an accident. He walked over a screaming child with zero expression.
And the witness says, it wasn't like a man. It was like some damned juggernaut.
It wasn't like a man. It was like some damned juggernaut. That comparison is so precise. A juggernaut, a thing with no feelings that just rolls over whatever's in front of it. He wasn't a person. He was a machine that crushes.
And the man who trampled the child is Mr. Hyde. The crowd corners him, forces him to pay, and he coolly writes a check for £100. The strange part, the name signed on that check isn't Hyde. It's a name of someone extremely respectable and well-known.
So a respectable man is paying off this monster. Everyone's first instinct is blackmail. The creep has dirt on the famous guy.
Exactly what everyone assumes. And the lawyer, Utterson, panics because he happens to hold the will of that famous man, Dr. Jekyll. And the will is disturbing. If Jekyll dies or disappears for any period exceeding 3 calendar months, everything he owns passes to one Edward Hyde.
Wait, that makes no sense. A respectable, wealthy doctor leaves his entire estate to a child-trampling thug and specifically writes in that disappearance counts too? That reads like a will written with a knife at your throat.
That's exactly how the lawyer reads it. He starts to suspect his old friend Jekyll did something shameful in his youth, that Hyde has him by the throat, blackmailing him for life. He becomes obsessed with seeing Hyde's face, and he says this great line, "If he be Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. Seek."
If he be Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. Seek. That's a pun. Hyde sounds like hide. The lawyer's saying, you hide, I'll seek.
And when he finally corners Hyde and sees his face, his reaction is bizarre. He can't name a single thing wrong with him, but every fiber of him recoils. He says, "The man seems hardly human," and then something heavier. "If ever I read Satan's signature upon a face, it is on that of your new friend."
The man seems hardly human. If ever I read Satan's signature upon a face, it is on that of your new friend. That's such a sharp description. He can't point to one ugly feature, but one look and he feels sick. He feels hate.
And everyone in the book who meets Hyde is the same. Nobody can name a single deformity, but everyone feels he's deformed, feels evil radiating off him.
And honestly, that's so 2026. You ever scroll someone's account, some comment thread, and the person hasn't technically said anything evil, but every instinct goes, this person is wrong. The back of your neck goes cold. Hyde is that exact thing, the kind of evil where your body clocks it before your brain can explain it.
Now the story flips. A year later, London is rocked by a murder. A white-haired, kindly old gentleman is beaten to death in the street under a full moon. A maid watching from a window says the killer suddenly turned, quote, ape-like in his fury, clubbed the old man down and stamped on him.
Stamping again.
Stamping again. It's Hyde's signature. The text, with ape-like fury, he was trampling his victim underfoot.
With ape-like fury, he was trampling his victim underfoot. That ape-like is doing a lot of work, and it's a setup. Hyde represents the part of a human that's devolved, primitive, animal, the thing under the civilized surface.
And the murderer is Hyde. Now it's serious. The child trampler has leveled up to murderer. But here's a detail most people skip. After the murder, Hyde vanishes completely. And miraculously, Dr. Jekyll comes back to life.
Comes back to life?
For the 2 months Hyde is gone, Jekyll transforms. He comes out of his isolation, reconnects with friends, does charity, becomes religious. His face opens up. He's calm and happy. The book says it's as if that evil influence had been withdrawn.
Oh, I know this one. It's like you finally delete the app that was rotting your brain. You nuke the alt account that had you spiraling at 3 a.m. For the first 2 months, you genuinely feel reborn, clear-headed, like a new person.
Precisely. But it doesn't last. One day Jekyll shuts himself away again, won't see anyone, even slams the door on his best friend. Meanwhile, another old friend, Dr. Lanyon, suddenly looks like he's seen a ghost, withered, terrified, and dies within weeks. He leaves behind a sealed letter marked not to be opened until the death or disappearance of Dr. Jekyll.
The mystery's stacking up. A murderer vanishes, a doctor flickers between good and bad and locks himself away, a third doctor gets scared to death, and the reader still has no clue they're the same man.
Then comes the climax. Jekyll's butler, Poole, runs to the lawyer late at night, white as a sheet. He says, "My master's been locked in the lab all week, sending me out for some drug, and when I bring it back, he says it's impure and throws it out. And that voice in there, it's not my master's voice."
Chills.
And Poole says this line that freezes the blood. He says his master was made away with 8 days ago when they heard him cry out to God, and who's in there instead of him and why it stays there is a thing that cries to heaven. They decide to break down the door.
Did they actually break it down?
They did. The butler swings an axe, 5 blows before the door bursts. Inside, a man lies on the floor, twitching, just dead. They turn him over. It's Hyde's face, but the clothes on his body are absurdly large, Jekyll size.
Hyde, wearing Jekyll's clothes.
And Dr. Jekyll, they search the entire building, dead or alive, is nowhere, vanished into thin air.
That image is terrifying. A Hyde who's much smaller than Jekyll, dead inside Jekyll's clothes, and Jekyll himself's just gone. The reader's brain goes pop right there.
And the truth is in the last 2 letters. Lanyon's reveals half of it. Lanyon says that night, Hyde came to his house and, right in front of him, drank a potion. And then, Hyde's body began to swell, his face to melt and change. And Lanyon screamed because standing in front of him was Henry Jekyll.
So Hyde drinks the potion and becomes Jekyll. Same person.
Same person. And that's literally what scares Lanyon to death. He writes, "My life is shaken to its roots." A man who built his whole life on reason, on materialism, watches one person become another, and his entire worldview collapses.
That's such a sharp beat. Lanyon isn't beaten to death by Hyde. He's killed by the truth. Sometimes the deadliest thing isn't the evil itself.
It's realizing the person you respected most and that monster are the same human being.
And the final letter is Jekyll's own full confession, the heaviest part of the book. He starts at the beginning. He was born respectable, ambitious, but he also had his undignified pleasures. And from a young age, he lived a double life.
A double life.
And he says the line that names the whole book, I stood already committed to a profound duplicity of life.
I stood already committed to a profound duplicity of life. Duplicity, two-ness. That word is the key to the entire book.
But Jekyll insists on something crucial that people misread. He says, though so profound a double dealer, I was in no sense a hypocrite. Both sides of me were in dead earnest.
Though so profound a double dealer, I was in no sense a hypocrite. Both sides of me were in dead earnest. Oh, that distinction matters. He's not pretending to be good while secretly being bad. He is genuinely good and genuinely bad. Both are really him.
This is Stevenson's deepest move. He's not writing good guy versus bad guy. He's writing one person who contains two fully real selves. And Jekyll states the book's central thesis. Man is not truly one, but truly two.
Man is not truly one, but truly two. 140 years later, that still makes me shiver. Isn't that all of us? The main account me, the Finsta me, the me in front of coworkers, the me alone at 3 a.m., the real name me, the anonymous comment me.
And Jekyll is a scientist, so he does the thing no human had dared to imagine. He tries to chemically separate the two selves. He says if the two sides could live in separate bodies, life would be relieved. The unjust might go his way, and the just could walk steadfastly on his upward path.
The unjust might go his way, and the just could walk steadfastly on his upward path. Honestly, that wish sounds so reasonable. Cut the bad me out, let the good me live clean. Who wouldn't want that?
And that's the most dangerous part. That logic is exactly the logic of the alt account. The main stays perfectly virtuous, and you pour all the unsayable cravings, the bitter takes, into a second identity. Jekyll's potion is the ultimate Finsta, a container that lets you fully become someone else and not have to answer for it.
Right, and Jekyll names the exact hit. He describes becoming Hyde, younger, lighter, happier in body, and then a solution of the bonds of obligation.
A dissolving of the bonds of obligation.
Yes, obligation dissolved. That's the most addictive moment of an anonymous account. Nobody knows it's me, so I don't have to answer for anything I say. I can be cruel, I can indulge, I can be a person I'd never dare be in daylight. That consequence-free freedom is a drug.
And Jekyll admits, honestly, that he knew Hyde was evil. He says the first time he transformed, he knew himself to be more wicked, tenfold more wicked. But the thought braced and delighted me like wine.
Braced and delighted me like wine. He knows it's bad, and the badness is exactly what feels so good. That's the core of addiction. You know you shouldn't, and the shouldn't is part of the rush.
Now comes the most precise mechanism in the book, and the part I most want 2026 to hear. Jekyll discovers that the Hyde identity grows. At first, it takes huge effort to become Hyde. Control sits with Jekyll. But the more he indulges,
What happens?
Hyde gets stronger, easier to summon, until one morning, Jekyll wakes up without taking the potion, and he's already Hyde. He looks at his own hand, and it isn't Jekyll's white professional hand. It's lean, corded, knuckly, thickly shaded with a swart growth of hair.
Lean, corded, knuckly, thickly shaded with a swart growth of hair. It's Hyde's hand. No potion needed. He just turned on his own.
Right, and here's the most chilling line. I was slowly losing hold of my original and better self and becoming slowly incorporated with my second and worse.
I was slowly losing hold of my original and better self and becoming slowly incorporated with my second and worse. That sentence is just the scientific definition of addiction.
Unpack it.
So every addiction has this exact shape. At the start, you use it. You scroll a bit, you hop on the alt to vent, you have one drink. Control's in your hands. You can stop whenever. But every indulgence feeds the bad circuit a little more, until one day it uses you. You don't decide to scroll.
Your thumb unlocks the phone on its own. You don't decide to open the alt. Your fingers are already typing. Control changed hands, quietly, while you weren't looking.
And the most horrifying part is Jekyll's observation that the shift is asymmetrical. He says, the powers of Hyde seem to have grown with the sickliness of Jekyll.
The powers of Hyde seem to have grown with the sickliness of Jekyll. One self gets stronger and hungrier, the other gets weaker and less able to resist. That's exactly real. The more you feed the indulgent self, the one that wants to do the real work just shrinks and loses its will.
And Jekyll analyzes the relationship between the two selves with the line that gets me every time. He says Hyde was indifferent to Jekyll, but Jekyll toward Hyde. Jekyll had more than a father's interest. Hyde had more than a son's indifference.
Jekyll had more than a father's interest. Hyde had more than a son's indifference. That metaphor hurts. The good self can never let go of the bad self, keeps trying to save it, clean up after it, but the bad self feels nothing for the good. It just treats it as a hideout from the law.
Exactly the text. Hyde sees Jekyll as the cavern in which he conceals himself from pursuit, a cave to hide in. Hyde only needs Jekyll for cover.
And that holds in any relationship and inside yourself. The impulsive, indulgent part of you never cares whether the hardworking you is tired or full of regret. It only retreats, hides behind normal you when it's about to get caught.
And the turning point is after Jekyll has indulged to a certain depth. At one point, he resolves to quit Hyde. He stops the potion for 2 months, lives strictly, enjoys the compensations of an approving conscience.
2 months, the detox.
But he makes a mistake we all know. He doesn't burn the bridges. He neither gave up the house in Soho nor destroyed the clothes of Edward Hyde.
Oof, that's too real. You say you're quitting, but you can't bring yourself to delete the alt, can't block the person, can't pour out the bottle. You leave one bridge standing, and that's just leaving the door open for the relapse.
Then, in an hour of moral weakness, he drinks again. And this time, Jekyll says the most bone-chilling line in the book. My devil had been long caged. He came out roaring.
My devil had been long caged. He came out roaring. The longer you suppress it, the harder it snaps back. That's why this time he loses control so completely, he beats an old gentleman to death. 2 months of pent-up evil exploding all at once.
And Jekyll's reflection on that murder is the deepest moral judgment in the book. He says, to be tempted, however slightly, was to fall.
To be tempted, however slightly, was to fall. Because he'd voluntarily stripped himself of all those balancing instincts, the brakes that let us stay steady in front of temptation. He'd torn out his own brakes, so the lightest touch sent him over the edge.
That's a good way to put it. Jekyll's tragedy is indulgent escape valve, when really, he was dismantling his own braking system. Every indulgence, one more brake gone.
And for us in 2026, that's a gut punch. Our whole environment is engineered to dismantle your brakes. The algorithm feeds the most addictive thing straight to your eyes. Anonymity means you never answer for what you say. One-tap order, one-tap loan, one-tap switch into a different persona. Every convenience is one more brake. The brake that would have made you slow down and think, quietly removed.
And in the end, Jekyll pays the ultimate price. His drug stops working.
Stops working?
He realizes the original batch only worked because of an impurity in it. Once he uses it up and buys the pure stuff, no mixture brings him back. He's trapped forever in Hyde's body, scraping the last of the old powder to stay Jekyll just long enough to finish his confession.
That detail is so brutal. The thing that let him turn back into the good man was an impurity, an accident, a fluke of luck he never even understood. Once the luck runs out, there's no going back.
Right. So at the end of the confession, Jekyll knows Hyde is about to take over this body permanently and completely. He writes the book's final period. He says, "Half an hour from now, when I shall again and forever re-endue that hated personality."
Half an hour from now, when I shall again and forever re-endue that hated personality. Re-endue, put back on. He talks about Hyde like a coat he can never take off again.
And then the very last line, "Here then, As I lay down the pen and proceed to seal up my confession, I bring the life of that unhappy Henry Jekyll to an end.
Here then, as I lay down the pen and proceed to seal up my confession, I bring the life of that unhappy Henry Jekyll to an end. He's writing about Henry Jekyll's death in the third person, because by the final sentence, I is barely Jekyll anymore. He can't even hold on to his own first person.
And that's the horror of the ending. Jekyll isn't killed by Hyde. Jekyll is slowly replaced, slowly drowned, finally erased by the self he fed.
So let's bring it back to 2026. The sharpest warning here is 3 layers deep. Layer 1, a person was always 2, maybe more. We don't have to pretend we're only one thing. Jekyll's real mistake wasn't having a dark side. It was wanting to cut the dark side out, outsource it, pretend it wasn't him.
Right. Jekyll's tragedy begins with separation. He doesn't want to integrate the bad self, make peace with it, manage it. He wants to file it into another identity, so the bad things don't count as me.
And that's the most dangerous temptation of the alt account, the anonymous handle, the AI face swap, the virtual persona. It hands you an illusion. What I do in that identity isn't really me. But Jekyll spends his life proving the opposite. Every single thing Hyde did, Jekyll did. Every cruel line your Finsta posts, you posted. No alt is ever truly separate from you.
Layer 2 is the growth mechanism. Skills run on use it or lose it, and so do selves. Whichever side you feed, that side swells. The more you use the anonymous, indulgent, unaccountable self, the stronger it gets, until one day you don't have to switch. It just is you.
Yeah, the scariest moment isn't you become Hyde. It's the moment you wake up as Hyde without taking the potion. That shift is silent, gradual, invisible. By the time you notice, there's no way back.
Layer 3 is the deadliest, the impurity. Jekyll could turn back only because of luck, an accident he couldn't reproduce or control.
And that's the reminder. Never assume I can stop anytime. Jekyll thought he could quit Hyde whenever he liked. He literally tells the lawyer, the moment I choose, I can be rid of Mr. Hyde. And how'd that go? The any time he bet on was built on luck he didn't even understand. When the luck ran out, the door shut forever.
So what is this 140-year-old book telling us in 2026?
I think it's, you think you're using the escape valve, but the escape valve is reshaping you. That alt, that anonymous handle, that indulgent second self, it starts as a pet you feed, and feed by feed it becomes the cage you live in, and finally the master that replaces you. Hyde was never a monster from outside. He's you, fed bite by your own hand.
A person isn't one, the two, or more. The real work isn't cutting off the bad side, outsourcing it, pretending it doesn't exist. It's recognizing it, watching it, keeping it firmly in your own hands. Because if you don't integrate it, it will integrate you. The moment you start to believe what I do in that identity doesn't count as me, Hyde's key is already in the lock. That's the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
So next time your thumb opens that alt on its own, the thing that turns you into someone else, clock it. Pause 1 second and ask, am I still using this, or has it quietly started using me?
This is Story Never End, reading yesterday's classics through today's eyes. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.